It sounds like Arizona is dead set on continuing on the course that they are on. What can happen in the next 14 days?
Well, right now in the legal realm, obviously there's an effort to try to enjoin the law so it doesn't go into effect while the lawsuit gets resolved.
So stop the clock, in effect.
Right. Stop the clock, in effect. Now, we are hopeful that that can happen, but in addition, I think it's important to note that we don't think that solves the problem. I think it's hugely important for the law to be enjoined so that the case can be heard. But we already have other states that are pledging to move forward regardless. So what we are saying is that the resolution of this situation is once this law is repealed, overturned by the courts, or importantly, superseded by comprehensive immigration reform, which is the only real way we're going to fix this problem, as opposed to a false solution to a real problem for political reasons, which is what Governor Brewer's been doing with this law.
If you're a state, don't you want to wait to see what happens before you pass your own law? I mean, couldn't it be really expensive to have to enter this battle without seeing where the chips are going to fall, Karen?
Well, part of the issue is this has also become partisan football, right? So this is election season, and a lot of candidates, unfortunately, are seizing on the issue, thinking that this is an engine they can ride to election. I think it'll be very critical to see the turnout of Latinos and Asians and other communities who oppose these kinds of laws. The governor herself, I think, is up for re-election, and so there can be a statement made in that. There is a huge Latino electorate in Arizona who hopefully has become more interested in who's representing them both in the governor's position and in the state legislature. I'll note in Arizona, not a single Republican member of Congress from Arizona is a co-sponsor of Congressman Gutierrez's comprehensive immigration bill. So there's an opportunity come this fall, I think, for communities to send a message to elected officials about whether they should continue to try to push that part of the agenda or whether they should come back and pass a comprehensive immigration bill, because everybody agrees that's really the only way you can solve the issue and alleviate the frustrations that Americans have.
Yeah, right. You know, keep in mind who is for this law. You mentioned the states, governors, state legislatures, and also the sheriffs. What they have in common is that they are politicians at heart. They pander to the public sentiment. Those who are opposed.
That is elected sheriffs as opposed to
sheriffs.
appointed police chiefs.
Right.
Okay.
That was going to be my next point. The ones who are opposed to it are the city officials, the mayors, who would actually have to carry out this policy, as well as the police chiefs. So, you know, when you look at the responsibility for carrying it out, there's opposition. When you look at the people who can simply say, let's do it, there's, I think, less thinking about what the ramifications of this are. And, you know, we do have to have comprehensive immigration reform so that we can supersede these state laws. I mean, one of the basis of the federal lawsuit is that there are certain things that the federal government is supposed to handle that states can't. And immigration is one of them. A simple example is printing money. You know, each state cannot print its own currency. Each state cannot sign a foreign treaty. Well, immigration falls into that category. That really is a federal responsibility. The Arizona law has overstepped its bounds. So once you get a federal legislation to come in and be the overlay for how things should be operating, then I think that makes some of these state efforts moot.
It's actually pretty simple. You mentioned that there's support for the law. And I think that, as we've said, there's also equal or larger numbers of support for comprehensive, which is the only way you actually fix the legal immigration system so you can take pressure off the border, focus on the bad guys that people are worried about, and then get people who are here illegally to play by the same rules as everybody else, right? Arizona can't touch that. They can't do that. So what is the biggest irony here, frankly, and what proves how this is about politics and about not about wanting to solve the problem, is that 2 senators in Texas, we have 2 senators in in Arizona that are railing against the problem and blaming the federal government for not doing anything, but also pledging to pretty much stand in the way of any solution for the problem they're railing against. If 2 of those 4 step forward, and there's about 11 Republican senators who actually voted for reform before, but if 2 of these senators in 2 key states that claim to care about this problem step forward, we could solve this in months.
You know, though, I think it's really important for people not to despair, because as much as we talk about SB 1070, there are amazing things going on in other states as well, really amazing. And so people are passing pro-immigrant laws, resolutions, and so it's not all one-sided. And I think sometimes we forget that because this is so outrageous in many ways.